Okay, so let's get right into it. It's that time of year again, right? The notifications start popping up, the calls start coming in, and there's this expectation. The expectation that today, of all days, you're supposed to feel special and excited and totally different. But what if you just don't? What if it just feels, normal? We're going to break down the psychology behind why feeling nothing on your birthday isn't a sign that you're cynical, but actually something way more interesting.
So does this feel familiar to you? That little nagging feeling that while the rest of the world is basically handing you balloons and cake, your own internal world is just carrying on as usual. You're not sad, you're not mad, it's just another day. If you have ever felt this way, I'm here to tell you, you are not alone. And the reason why is actually pretty fascinating.
And this slide right here really gets to the heart of the conflict, doesn't it? On one side, you've got this huge cultural script, this societal expectation of pure joy, big celebrations, a day that's all about you. And on the other side, well, that's your reality, a feeling of neutrality, maybe even total indifference. It's not that you're against having fun, it's just that this specific scheduled fun, it just doesn't click.
Now, what's so interesting here is how quickly society rushes to slap a label on this feeling. You might get called a party pooper, or people might get worried and ask if you're depressed, but the actual psychology behind it points to something completely different. It suggests that this indifference could actually be a sign of a really well-developed sense of self and some serious emotional stability. In other words, it's a sign of strength. Okay, so the first big reason is this. Your whole perception of time is just fundamentally different from most people's. You don't operate by the same landmarks on the calendar that seem to guide pretty much everyone else. So let's define this key idea. Psychologists call them temporal landmarks. Just think of them as these big signposts in time, birthdays, anniversaries, New Year's Day. For most people, these dates are a huge deal. They act like these psychological dividing lines, these moments to stop, reflect, reset, and plan for what's next.
And this reliance on landmarks creates something called the fresh start effect. You know the feeling, right? It's that, okay, on Monday, I'll start my diet, or this new year, I'm finally going to go to the gym. People use these dates as a kind of motivational launching pad to make big changes in their lives. But what if you don't need a launching pad?
This visual kind of says it all. That top line, that's event-based living. Life is a series of peaks and valleys with these huge emotional spikes for birthdays and holidays. But that bottom line, that's continuous time. It's just a smooth, consistent, forward-moving line. And that is the timeline of the non-celebrator.
So if you're someone who operates on continuous time, you don't wait for the calendar to give you permission to grow or to change. Your motivation comes from inside. You see time as this ongoing continuum, and to your logical mind, one trip around the sun isn't really more special than any other. You make a change when it's necessary, not just because it's scheduled. And that builds perfectly into our second key idea. See, this isn't just about time. It's about where you get your sense of self-worth. It's all about the power of validating yourself.
I mean, think about it. For a lot of people, a birthday basically works like a mandatory validation audit. It's this annual social test. How many people are going to remember? How many messages am I going to get? How many people will actually show up? Their self-worth gets temporarily outsourced, and it's measured by the amount of attention they get from the outside.
But the non-celebrator, well, they often have this really powerful psychological trait, a high internal locus of control. This is just the core belief that you are the one driving the ship. Your successes, your failures, they're a result of your own actions, not some outside forces. And most importantly, your sense of value comes from inside. You just don't need that external audit. So, this annual audit, this whole social test where your value is kind of measured by the number of happy birthday texts you get, well, that's a test you just don't need to take because you've already put in the work. You validate yourself every single day through your actions, your principles, your own achievements. The whole ritual of birthday praise starts to feel redundant, maybe even a little silly, because you already know your worth. And that brings us to our third big reason, which really gets to the emotional core of all of this, the exhausting burden of forced joy, and why for some of us, being authentic will always be more important than putting on a performance. Psychologically speaking, birthdays are pretty unique because they come with what's called a prescriptive emotion. There's a social script, and the main rule is you must be happy right now. You're expected to perform surprise at gifts, you're supposed to beam with joy at the cake, and express tons of gratitude for the attention, no matter how you're actually feeling on the inside.
All this pressure to perform creates something called cognitive dissonance. That's just the fancy term for that mental stress you feel when your actions and your true feelings don't line up. Acting totally ecstatic when you feel perfectly neutral, it's emotionally draining. So for a person who really values authenticity, skipping the whole celebration is just a simple way to avoid that exhausting internal fight.
So you can really see the difference here, can't you? On one side, you've got the scheduled fun of a birthday. It can feel mandatory, totally performative, and just exhausting. But on the other side, you have the spontaneous joy that you actually prefer. Those moments that are genuine, authentic, and feel completely effortless because they're real.
So how does this all fit together? It's not about being against happiness, not at all. It's about redefining what a stable, purposeful, and authentic life actually looks like. It's really about choosing stability over some scheduled celebration.
I absolutely love this quote because it just nails the whole mindset perfectly. You aren't missing out on the magic, you just don't need the magic trick to feel real. That magic trick, that's the forced once-a-year party. But if your life is already full of purpose and self-worth, you just don't need it. The feeling is already real every single day.
And this table does a great job of summing everything up. The celebrator, they tend to see time through those event-based landmarks, they get their worth from external validation, and they engage with scheduled, sometimes performative emotions. The non-celebrator, on the other hand, sees time as a continuous flow, finds their worth from the inside, and they prioritize spontaneous and authentic emotion. So, if you're one of those people who treats their birthday like any other day, please don't let anyone make you feel like you're broken or you're missing out. You've simply made a trade. You've traded the dramatic highs and lows that come with event-based living for something much, much more powerful. The quiet, consistent stability of an authentic, purposeful life.
And that leaves us with one last question for you to think about. After hearing all of this, what's your philosophy? Do you thrive on the celebration, or do you find your purpose in it being just another productive, meaningful day? The answer, either way, says a whole lot about who you are.